What's up, guys? Steven here today. And today what I wanted to talk to you about is swag movement. Now, the simplest way that I can put this is think of the three fucking axes, right? And how I like to put it is there is the x-axis, which is just moving left and right? And then you have the y-axis, which is moving forward and backwards. And then the z-axis, which is essentially leaning forward or leaning backwards. So that's literally how I would draw it. If I had to write it on a piece of paper, I'd like to get x, y, and z would be like squiggly lines. Squiggly line in, squiggly line out, right? Now, the thing to remember is that there is such a thing called flux. And how I like to define flux is essentially the fact that the earth is always in movement, right? It's always fucking actually rolling forward, right? And so because of that, based on where you are in relation to the earth, there's like, you can think of it as like there's this angling effect that occurs to where when you're moving forward, there's somewhat of like the tilt that occurs. Like you're always kind of doing this, jeering one way or the other, right? Now, one thing, as I mentioned in previous videos, is that you essentially want to work on first zeroing your stance, right? If the way you're standing right now is unbalanced, meaning like you're actually not at zero, meaning you're not standing at that zero where the three axes meet, the x, the y, and the z. Like you're not standing perfectly upright, and you're not standing like in a way that's not leaning into one axis or the other. Going forward, your movement is going to be unbalanced, right? Whenever you're going to step or take a step towards the ball, you're going to be moving completely unbalanced. And has everything is connected, right? And so because of that unbalanced energy, you're going to have an unbalanced touch on the ball, which translates to an unbalanced maybe pass or an unbalanced shot, right? So like, for example, sometimes when you see how it's like a 3-on-1 situation and like clearly the offense should score, but they don't because one person just flicks up on the pass. It's because that person is they're moving unbalanced, right? Or the first person makes a good pass, but the second person is unbalanced, and his centering, meaning like when he nulls the ball, or he like cancels the motion coming in, and then he passes it on to the other person. He never properly does the canceling part, and so now he adds unnecessary force onto the pass. And the person receive it can't really manipulate or manage it. And so now they make an unbalanced shot, right? It's literally all about balance. And the more and more you strive to do that, the better and better you'll be. Because now, in situations where it's like maybe one-on-one, you'll literally be able to see that like, oh, this person's standing like this, so I can just go like that and like this, and they won't be able to deal with the cutback, right? Things like that, things like the crossover. So first think about that. Think about the three axes, and then think about how you're balanced. So that's one, right? The second is moving at your rhythm. And it kind of goes in line with what I always talk about, which is essentially striving to let your fucking soul drive, right? Now, how I like to think about it is like, you want to imagine that, sorry, dogs sided. You want to imagine that like, essentially, because of the you that you are, you have this particular, okay, should I? That's fine. Because of the you that you are, you have this particular cadence, right? Like this particular rhythm. For example, this is why the way Zinedine Zidane moves is vastly different from the way Ronaldinho moves, which is different from fucking the old school Ronaldo or even the new school Ronaldo moves, right? Because they are them. But then more importantly, technically speaking, they each have different body structures, and that kind of ties into the rhythm part. Your body structure is unique and customized to you, right? Your upbringing, the things that occurred. Maybe at one point in your life you were wearing shoes that didn't fit you right, and now it caused like a point oh 0.01 shift in your fucking bone structure, and now you fucking grow up developing this like weird ankle issue that like essentially causes you to move with like a slight fucking lisp, right? Limp, right? So everyone is like literally unique in that way. And my point is, by actually getting in touch with, as gay as the sound, your fucking soul, you'll be able to get in touch with the way that you naturally move in rhythm with flux, in rhythm with the way that the earth fucking flows. And so, once that happens, it's actually really easy to make fucking game-changing movements. Something like the fucking Ronaldinho crossover or the Zenzivas. Like, that shit naturally comes about because... it's okay. This guy was like, bro, I know that my body is like this, but by just timing my movement and just moving in alignment with my higher being, which enables me to tap into my creativity, I can do some ill-ass shit. And that's something else I wanted to touch on. Like, I hate the fact that everyone is so, I don't want to say starstruck, but we get so caught up in, like, mimicking others' movements when we don't realize the deeper layer reason behind it. Meaning, they're moving in a way that's in line with their body structure. And so that's why they're producing those game-changing moves, right? But if we just got in touch with the fact that our body structure is unique, which also gives us the opportunity to create game-changing movements, we'd be doing some ill-ass shit. And then, like, instead of forcing moves in situations where they're not even needed, we'd be doing shit that's, like, in purpose with scoring a goal, in purpose with fucking helping the team succeed and win. So think about that. Don't just get focused on the fact that fucking Allen Iverson's crossover is so nasty, and you have to replicate every single step, or Kobe's jumper is just unstoppable. But rather realize that your body structure is unique, and if you allow your soul to drive, if you allow your creativity to usher forth, even if people at first say, dude, you look fucking weird, you look gay doing that, if you just stick to you, if you have that self-love, right, and that confidence to essentially do the shit that you know feels right for you, you will do shit that no one ever saw coming. So always fucking let your soul drive. And remember that at the end of the day, Swagg Movement ultimately is purposeful movement. Meaning, you're not just doing shit to do, right? Like, you're not just fucking, you're not just doing a crossover to do a crossover. You're doing it for purpose. Which brings me to the last point, which is essentially becoming aware of the free space, or what I call the midline, right? And I'll just add the picture that I made and kind of talk about it first. But like, essentially, imagine that you took the fucking field, right, and you split it right down the middle from the goal to the goal. There's a middle line. So put the picture here. Right? Now, once you see that, you realize that Think of that midline. That middle line has the fucking life force, the vitality of the game. Like, that's where all the action ushers forth. That's where all the fucking magnetic lines, the flux, the field, and like the waves that allow you to essentially go with, that you can ride, that will, without you even seeing or realizing how it's possible, take you to score a goal, right? Like, for example, sometimes you see dudes just like, it's almost like they're all just like, they're like just treading on the grass, right? And they have like that swag momentum on the ball, meaning it's not too much and it's not too little, it's just right. And so now every pass they make going forward is just unstoppable. Like, you've seen those buku goals where like the guy just like taps it and then he even and then like his teammate gets it and then he shoots it and it just bounces in a way that's like, even though the goalie should have had it, he just can't stop it for some magical reason. It's all because of those magnetic lines, because of the midline presenting an opportunity at the time and space for something cool to occur and the people taking advantage of it. Furthermore, it's also because of the alignment of the teammates and their position in relation to each other, the goals, and the opposing team, which creates this particular set of physical dynamics that are essentially able to be capitalized upon. I think I'll probably touch more on that on my swag geometry video. But remember that the midline is everything, right? Now, something that I wanted to add and throw in here to kind of help you give more purpose to your movement, to make it swag as fuck. So here's the field, right? If you're a player here and the midline is there, your inside is this way and your outside is that way. If you're a player here and the midline is there, your inside is this way and the outside is that way, right? So a lot of time I see players, if they had just taken a step inside, they would be going in and they would have an opportunity for a goal. Or if they had just taken a step outside to allow the opposing team to draw on them, giving their teammates more space, they would have just been able to do one lob or one pass and the team would have made it. But it's like, people will just do shit without any purpose behind them. Like, someone will, and essentially going further, a crossover is essentially going from one side of the midline to the other side of the midline. That's why you cross over. Another way of thinking about it, take your body, right? Take your body, do this, split it right down the middle. That's your midline, right? If you're on a one-on-one, in a one-on-one situation, you just look for the midline of that person, meaning most people aren't balanced. They don't square up, right? And furthermore, if they do square up, they do it in a very unbalanced way. Now, a fucking swag defense is realizing that you kind of don't want to be squared up, because you want to remember that if you're a hole or you're a spot in the team, and if you get beaten, it's almost allowing a vulnerability. So you being swaggy or aware or conscious and playing with one team consciousness, realize that you can actually just angle your body, forcing the opponent or the attacker to make a choice. And a successful force is one where he is forced to go where your teammate is, so your teammate can get the ball. So think of it as like you're playing FIFA. You want to force a guy to tap on the sprint button so he loses the ball and your teammate can collect it, right? So that's a great way of thinking about it. Now, a crossover is going from one side of the midline to the other side. Another way of putting it is you're essentially shifting the midline, right? That's why if you hear me, if you see me play a lot, hear me like scream triangle is because the person is rushing in, and all the person that he's rushing to has to do is feint this way and go that way, and he'll beat him. And the sad is, because of team dynamics, we're all sucked into the hole that he left. So by calling triangle, he has to, like, I'm hoping that he slows down his momentum and becomes aware that, oh shit, he's running in, not just with too much momentum, but he's also even running in an unbalanced way. He's not in sync to match or meet that person head on like he thinks he initially wanted to. And so by forcing himself to calm down, to slow down, he's moving more intelligently, and now causing the person with the ball to essentially think about making a decision. Essentially force the person to make a hard decision, and hopefully a decision that is geared towards dispossessing him. So like making him move somewhere where the teammates are, right? But remember, swag movement is about moving purposefully and becoming and being consciously aware of how you move. It's not just about, oh, I know the shit about X and Y and the Z axis, so now I can fucking strafe in real life. From like Counter-Strike guys. But it's realizing that you can use it to your advantage. You can use it to actually take on 3 guys, make a sick pass, hopefully get it back and score without ever putting any energy on the game, but literally moving with fucking flux. Hope this makes sense. Hope you guys get something out of this. As always, swag the fuck out.